policy that goes on is to prop up the dollar, and it's not so much conspiring, in some ways, but it is. The big guys and the central banks, everything is dependent on the dollar right now, and the dollar is very strong compared to other dollars because we have promised and we have acted this way in the crisis that we're going through right now since '08 and '09. We bail out everybody, not only all our banks, but all the central banks of the world and all the governments and all the currencies of the world. So they have an interest. Everybody has an interest in protecting the dollar, but ultimately they won't be able to, and I think we're fast approaching that time.
Well, sure. I mean, I read the basic economics. There's a race worldwide to devalue, so it's like helter-skelter, coming down fast but miles above you. It's like a sinking mountain into the ocean. We're on the top, but we're still sinking, and most economists across the board admit there'll be a comeuppance. What does your gut tell you as a student of von Mises who saw this out 30 years ago? How long can this go on?
Well, that's the one thing that Austrian economics teaches, that we can have a pretty good understanding of which way things are going. Print a lot of money and the value of the dollar goes down. But they also have an emphasis on the subjective theory of value, and that is there are subjective elements in it. Sometimes even a strong military bestows confidence in a currency. So money supply is important, but the perceptions are important, and the military is important. And so therefore, you don't know when it's going to end. Right now, we have some excitement going on over in Hong Kong. It sort of stirred the markets a little bit. So some morning we'll wake up and there'll be something much bigger than what we just saw at Hong Kong. Maybe it'll be all of China or something that's blowing up economically. And then that will be the end of it, and people will have to realize that you can't live on debt forever, and that's what they believe they can do now. Debt, as far as the Keynesians are concerned, is not a problem. The only problem is if you want to accumulate debt and spend more money. That is the only problem they have to worry about.
All right, I know you've got to go. One last question, RonPaulChannel.com. I'm seeing Ted Cruz, who I like, but I don't trust as much as your son, coming out and saying he's going to focus mainly on foreign policy in his campaign for president. Clearly he's running. We know Rand's running. Rand is focusing on foreign, domestic as well, but I really think focusing on tax cuts, focusing on regulatory rollbacks, getting back to the Constitution, that's what people want. I think Cruz is making a mistake. I mean, what are you advising Rand to do? Because, I mean, I'm just trying to give my 2 cents. Don't you think we need to focus on domestic issues?
Yeah, we do, but I'm not in the business of volunteering my advice. I think he knows where I stand on these issues. But one other thing that he does, without my emphasis, directly at him, but my emphasis over the years, and that is this whole issue of privacy. He's done such a good job on that and showing how abusive our government has been. So I think that is catching on, and I think he's still going to have a strong attraction to the young people, and that's a big issue for them.
What is it like to see your son being the presidential frontrunner for the grand old party? I mean, he is.
Well, it's great, but to me, it's also a mixed bag because I know what the piling on and the yelling and screaming by the enemies and the distortions that go on and what's going to happen, what the establishment will do. So yes, I'm very pleased not only for him, but I'm pleased to promote the message. But I'm also thinking about you're going to get some hard knocks, and no parent would feel good when their kids get hard knocks.
You got to be proud of him, and he's just one more example of the legacy that you continue to put out there of freedom. And I hope others step up and promote liberty, because you're another testament, Ron Paul, to what an individual can do taking action. God bless you. Have a great week coming up, sir.
Thank you, Alex. Bye-bye.
Thank you. There goes former Congressman Ron Paul. Yeah, I mean, Ted Cruz thinks he can score a bunch of points against Obama on ISIS and stuff, and sure, he can. And I like Ted Cruz. I really admire him, and we've only interviewed him once for TV, and I wish I would have, gotten involved with him earlier, because he was very accessible. Then we haven't even really bugged him now. But, his wife was in the Council on Foreign Relations, but I know a lot of people that were in it and got out of it. Just because you were in that doesn't mean you're bad. Because it's got like 7,000 members now. It's gotten bigger. It's the steering committee that's really bad news. And, work for Goldman Sachs and stuff. But, I mean, we've got to be ready for people in the system to promote liberty. You have to go off what they do now. And he promoted freedom, when he was married to his wife. So I'm just having a discussion here openly, I guess, with myself and you, the listeners, about Rand Paul, about Ted Cruz. It's time to discuss that. I just have known Rand Paul since 1996. Know him quite well. And I'll just leave it at that. And I know he's for real. I mean, he plays a little bit of politics and stuff to get positioned to run for president. But you think about him versus a Dianne Feinstein or versus an Al Gore or something like that. I mean, it's night and day. It's total night and day. And he's willing to get up there and take his licks and be attacked. They're going to try every dirty trick in the known universe on him. And part of me says, hey, let the Democrats get back in and just wreck everything instead of let Rand Paul get in and they'll end up blaming him for everything. But, justice be done, may the heavens fall. I don't want to go that route of, let's just let it get worse and worse and that'll wake people up. No, we can't survive it. We can't get a John Boehner type or a Jeb Bush type, another neocon. I know Boehner isn't running, but, Chris Christie. We need somebody who really doesn't want to wreck the country and isn't going to play games. I mean, Rand Paul says, yeah, I'm all for bombing ISIS, but I don't trust you to bomb them because you've been funding them, Obama. And hey, John McCain, why are you hanging out with Al-Qaeda? I mean, hey, the drug war is a fraud, and hey, the NSA is a fraud. I mean, Rand Paul is better than Ted Cruz. It's just a fact. We'll be right back. Stay with us. InfoWars.